Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Reese Goodall and today I want to talk about primary sources. What are they and how can we unpick them? What sort of questions should we be asking about primary sources? So question number one is, what is a primary source and how does that differentiate from a secondary source? So broadly speaking, a primary source is something that gives you direct information about the topic or theme or subject at hand, or in some cases it gives you first-hand evidence. And you're able to access it directly. It is not a work that is about something, it is the work that is from that something. So in sort of a historical context, say, it might be a work that is from that time. And if you're talking about a particular author or a filmmaker or whatever, it might be something that is sort of their work. But it's not offering a perspective. It's more based around information rather than interpretation and analysis. So step one is essentially doing the background work, understanding what the source is and where it has come from. So in a university context, it's pretty much given that sort of the primary sources you'll be working with will have been selected by lecturers. They'll be selected to fit into particular modules, particular topics, particular discussions. So what you want to think about is, what actually is the source that you're looking at? Is it a book? Is it a film? Is it a speech, a painting, whatever it is? What has been said about that source? What information have you already been given? Have you been told anything about the source in particular? And then where does it fit into the module that you're studying or the work that it's in relation to? And where does it fit into the relevant context around that? Why are you looking at this particular thing? So it's sort of doing all that background information, sort of knowing sort of why you are looking at the thing you are looking at. And that leads in quite nicely to some of the questions that you would sort of immediately ask about a primary source. So to begin with any primary source, really you want to unpick it and find the key information. And really this is the case really of sort of the five W's, as it were. The who, what, when, where, why questions. So question one, who made the source? Where, who is it from? Is it attributed to a particular author? What do you know about that author? Were they around at a particular time? Were they from a particular country? Do they have particular leanings? Are they in some way relevant to the context? Are they not relevant? Not relevant, that's what I mean. Say, something by William Shakespeare, say, on that period is radically a different view from sort of a random peasant who we don't know. So the question is, who made the source? Then, specifically, what does the source convey? What information can you unpick from the source? Is there an explicit message to the source? Is it trying to tell you something in particular? Are there implied messages to the source? Then from that, ask yourself when it was created. So in terms of specific time periods, do we have an exact date? Do we have sort of a general date? But also, when was it created in relation to whatever it's giving you information about? Is it a source that was made at the time of an event or a happening? Is it a source that was made sort of the next day? Was it made 100 years later? All of these will be different in terms of how they respond to the information they have. And none are inherently better or worse, but it's sort of knowing that so you know what questions to ask. Along with that, where was it created? And again, that is sort of in terms of sort of the geographical sense. Was it created in a particular country or town or city or sort of a place that is linked to the thing? But then it's also this question of where was it created? A creation of a source about an event in France, say. Was the source created in France? Was it created externally to France? If it's about a particular city, was it created in that city or elsewhere? These are all things that sort of factor into how we interpret. And then why was it created? This is sort of hard to unpick, and sometimes you may be given those reasons. Is it a news piece? Is conveying information? Was it designed to entertain? Was it designed to persuade? What is the rationale behind how that source emerged? Again, you may know this, you may not, but sort of ask yourselves these questions. After you've unpicked sort of the key information from the source, by which I mean there's sort of things that you can sort of discern from context and things about dates and times and people, it's worth asking yourself what you're not seeing. Are there things that are not shown, that are not said? What is missing from the source? And every single source in the world will have something that is not there. By its nature, nothing can show you everything. So what is not there? And then in particular, and then there's a question of why is it not there? Is the source aiming to do a particular thing and nothing else? If it's aiming to be universal, say, what is it capturing? What is it not capturing? This is really leading into this idea of sort of the bias of sources, but it's not necessarily the bias of sources as much as it is sort of the bias behind their creators, and the circumstances of their their creation. Sorry. So ask yourselves what you're not seeing. What would you expect to see? What is missing? What is there? What is not? And if you can write a list of sort of what you're not seeing, that can often be quite as informative as answering some of the questions about a primary source, as what is there in black and white or in whatever form the source is. And this leads me into sort of my last point in talking about primary sources, which is kind of where you go next. And this is the point where you're starting to think about this also more widely. So, what questions or observations do you have as about a particular source? And it's thinking about the wider context. Are there other primary sources that you can put that source in conversation with? Do you have other sources from the same period? Do you have other sources talking about the same topics? Um, and that's to do with primary sources, but then it also links into the secondary source question, which I'll talk about secondary sources in a subsequent video. But what things have secondary literature, have other scholars, have other people talking about that source found? What questions have they asked? What observations have they made? And what are things that they are saying that you can build on or not? And what are things that are missing there? And I won't go too much into that because, as I say, it's my intention to talk about secondary sources in another video. But it's asking sort of you have this source and it contains information within itself, but then ask yourselves what's not there. Discern everything you can and from the source that you have, then try and logic out, sort of infer things about it from the context you know, and then look more widely. Those are sort of the three stages of dealing with the primary source. So that is the end of my sort of short rundown on primary sources, and hopefully that is of use to you. If you have any comments, queries, questions, observations, ideas for future videos, please do comment below. And if you have any other tips, please do share those as well. We're all here to help each other learn. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all the YouTube stuff, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.